Hello, my name is Carina, and in this podcast, Break Fear, Find Freedom, I have conversations with people just like you who have broken their fear and found their freedom, whatever that may be. And shows you how to do the same. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee or your running shoes, whatever makes you happy, and let the fun begin. Oh, by the way, come take my hand and let's go. The door's opening now. Hello, everyone. It's Carina again with Break Fear Podcast, and today we have the very awesome Dino Miliotis.
Hello, how are you doing? Good morning.
How are you today, Dino?
I'm doing great. Right before the holidays, obviously, and everybody's hopefully taking a break and doing a little reflection. Today's show, Carina, if you allow me, I'm going to cover basically some snippets of 40 years of my business career. And the things I want to cover are ideas that came to me. I didn't invent the light bulb. I didn't invent the telephone or the internet. But at the same time, these ideas throughout my career were reinforcements to me that I was on the right track. So yes. For all you entrepreneurs out there, if you could still inspire, don't retire. Okay.
Sorry, 1 minute. I don't think entrepreneurs ever retire, right?
They don't, but they
can't retire.
They think they can, and that's the that's the whole trick. So sometimes they need to hear it from a fellow entrepreneur. But at the end of the segment, Carina, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw out an idea, one that I thought of when I was writing the book. No strings attached, people. I'm just going to give it to you because honestly, I don't have time. I would be very proud and honored if somebody took this idea and ran with it. So stick around because that's coming at the end of the show. And now we pause for a commercial break.
I love this.
In Japan, the hand cuts like a knife. Yeah. But can it do this to a tomato? Remember that commercial? It was the Ginsu knives.
No.
It was a great commercial. My point is right in your segment, you should be able to get a commercial sponsor. And I checked, and you need 1,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel, and then you get a corporate sponsor, and then you're able to have flexibility to do stuff. So guys, everybody out there, if you enjoy Carina's segments, view it, share it, subscribe. Let's give her a New Year's present. Let's get her off on the start. 1,000 subscribers, Carina, and I think you can do it. I think. And I'll be so excited for you, honestly.
That'll be very cool. So everybody, and then imagine you can just binge on Dino and everyone else, but on Dino stuff. That's pretty cool, right?
Binge.
Yes.
No, I mean all your guests are wonderful. You know what I mean? But if you're going to do it for me, yeah, go ahead and inflate my ego. That's perfect. You can tell I'm feeling a little better today, huh?
Yeah, you can see. So.
Oh, yeah.
You're looking good. You're looking good. You're looking excited.
The kid's back. Well, it's getting closer and closer to the day that I move and start this foundation running. And I don't have a doubt in my mind this is going to be good. And this segment is going to be good because, well, I'm just going to start right in. So
yes, let's begin. What are your ideas?
We finished the commercial, right? Okay, so we're back.
Yes. So anybody who's out there who would love that spot for a commercial, just hit me up, right? Or leave a comment. That would be great. Thanks.
Okay, back from the commercial. Here we go. Okay, so the last 3 weeks, no secret, I've been soul searching and I've been kind of reflecting on the less highlighted things in my life. And so I started thinking about different ideas that I had as early as 16 and 17 years old that were, for me, it was game changers. Some of them I'll never get credit for, and I have no conclusive proof that it was because of me that things happened. Others, it's because of me that things happen. So I'm kind of excited to share. So the first one, let me take you back to 1981, 1982. Okay. 16, 17 years old. And just kind of reminder of the time, the early 80s, was full of innovation in fashion. You know, everybody was coming out with the, you know, short little lapels and the punky kind of thing and colors and all that stuff. And if you remember, back when I was 16 years old, 17 years old, I had 3 jobs. So I was making more money than any kid in high school. And I loved it because did I save it? Hell no. What I did is I would go out and I would buy a different shirt or a members only jacket or stuff like that, superficial things. But I would buy them, you know, like every week. Literally when I had enough shirts where I didn't really have to wear the same one twice for a full year. I mean, that's, for me, I was high school rich, okay?
That's right.
Yeah, and the compliments and the reinforcement from everybody at school. Oh, that's a cool shirt. I love that shirt. You know, it was fun. So my Bible for fashion, just to give me ideas, was GQ magazine. And during the time GQ magazine, you know, I lived in Chicago. You still, everything they advertised, you couldn't buy at a regular store. It had to be high-end stores that didn't exist for most of the country. I mean, honestly, you had an outlet in LA, you had an outlet in New York, some in Miami, most of them Milan, Italy, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, I love these things. Where do I get them? And they're very expensive. So let me do lookalikes. You know, that's what it was. So I remember being so enthralled with the magazine that I actually wrote GQ a letter, and I wrote it in pencil. It shows you how much I cared. But it was like, you know, dear GQ, to whom it may concern, you know, I'm an avid reader and I'm an avid fan of your magazine and I love the styles, but I can't find them in stores. I suggest that you open up GQ stores for men. And you could display everything that you have in your magazines because they were big in accessorizing, you know what I mean? Tie by so-and-so, jacket by so-and-so, whatever. And I sent the letter. Obviously, I didn't expect a response or anything like that, but I did get one.
Wow.
And thank you for your feedback. What a great idea, blah, blah, blah. I think a year and a half later, GQ stores for men opened.
Wow.
Now, I know. I'm like, what? See, I was more excited, like, wow, I can actually go into a store than, hey, that was my idea. You know, I need some money from that idea. What it did for me is it validated that I got it, you know, that I have my pulse on the industry. It's reinforcement, you know what I mean? And everybody needs that reinforcement. So for me, that was just like a totally cool experience. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So let's fast track to 1996, 1997. Don't know, that's when I launched a product called Bug Band. It was just a simple plastic strap that I decided to infuse natural ingredients that are known to repel insects like geranium, lemongrass, citronella, and you infused these fragrances into the band, and it would kind of like time release this vapor that you know, protected you from insects. Kind of a novelty, kind of a necessity, but it was the perfect time. It was the right time because they were talking about, you know, these killer diseases, malaria carrying mosquitoes and stuff like that.
Yes.
I'm not talking about that invention. That invention got me press, right? Here's what I'm going to talk about. So right before I got in, well, because of this article, this specific article, I was next going to be featured in People magazine. Because of People magazine, Oprah Winfrey called me and wanted me on her show.
Wow.
So this particular article, which was Crane's Chicago Business, which is kind of like a Wall Street Journal with pictures. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
They wanted to do a story on me. And I'm like, okay, you know, where do we do it? So we selected a golf course, and it was like the 9th hole. And there's beautiful weeping willows behind in the backdrop and everything like that. And I was just decked out in my golf attire and everything like that. One of the things that I remembered, though, because there were a couple of local newspapers that did stories on me before this experience, they praised my product. They praised my rags to riches story, but they did not name my company, and they certainly didn't put down a phone number. So if people were interested, I was like, as happy as I was to get coverage, I was kind of distraught, because I'm just like, well, how's everybody going to reach me? And the internet was just new, right?
Yeah.
Business card. I certainly wasn't on the internet. I didn't have a website. I didn't have an email, anything like that. So the only way to reach me is by phone. And if nobody knew what to look for, they wouldn't be able to reach me. So the day before this photo shoot, I go to an all-night custom t-shirt embroidery shop. And I choose not a shirt, but a hat. And it was a plain white hat. And they're like, well, what do you want us to do? I said, can you sew? Can you put on the cap, can you put my toll-free number? They're like, what? Yeah. So I picked a toll-free number, 888-BUG-BAN-1. Bug-Ban was the name of the product.
Yeah.
So I had this hat. I think it cost me like almost $500 for the day. I didn't care. So we're on the green. We're ready for the shot. I get my golf club, and by the way, I don't play golf. But
just by the way. Okay.
So I'm holding the golf club, and it's a beautiful shot. And all of a sudden, I'm like, hold on. I forgot something. Run off the shoot, go and get my hat. And I come back, and I put the hat on, and I'm holding the golf club, and I'm smiling. And the camera guy's like, no. This isn't going to happen. I'm like, why? He says, we don't do that. We're writing about you. This isn't a commercial, okay?
Yes.
Make you popular like that. And something in me was just like, okay, this is it. This is the pivotal moment. And I stood my ground. Of course, I was terrified, but I stood my ground, and I'm like, well, if you don't let me wear my hat, then we're not doing this. And I just shut up, and it was just a stare down. It was just like two of us just kind of like looking at each other. And he says, all right, kid, wear the damn hat. What do I care? So he took a picture in Crane's magazine with me wearing the hat. And you could see the hat. If you go back and look in like 1997, you'll see me wearing this hat, 888-BUG-BAN-1. Back then, the fax that we had was with thermal paper. It was wool. You know what I mean? That thin, shiny paper, and it disintegrates after a while. But because of that hat, I got interest with People magazine like almost 2 weeks later. But I was also getting interest from 63 different countries.
Wow.
And every major retail store in the United States. I was going through 3 thermal rolls of paper a day.
Wow.
They were finding me.
I love that.
And so before the phone number on the hat, this never existed. Now you see everybody with the t-shirts, and you see them wearing the phone number, and it's on the back of the hat or whatever. Again, not a tangible, I'll take credit for it, but how cool is that? You know,
it's very cool.
It was a game changer. Because, unless you're a charity, nobody's going to sit there and say, now for more information, call this number, but they'll probably post your website now. Okay. I didn't have a website, and nobody posted websites back then. Okay. So, all right, let's go to 1999. Now, for those who don't know, and it's written in my book, 1999 was the year that I walked away from Bug Bam and I filed bankruptcy. And the reason I did was because as good as I thought I was, I didn't know about territories and infringements and breach of contract. I'm just like, you want to sell my product? Go for it. No exclusives, but some of these people were like, well, we could sell it to this store, this store, this store, sign here. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, I'll sign. But I didn't realize I was signing territories. Because to me, how can I give you a territory? I don't even know who you are. You may stink at selling, and then I'm stuck with you for I don't know how many years,
Yeah.
So let's just say I didn't honor it. Okay. And people got a little miffed, and I was working on selling my company for 50 million bucks to people that wanted to take my product and help people in the country of Chad in Africa.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Where they were really dying of mosquitoes. That never happened because of this problem. So all of a sudden, everybody starts suing me, cease and desist and whatever. And I didn't know about the law. I thought everybody was very good natured. Sometimes guess again. But my point is, I filed for $10 million in bankruptcy. I felt like an idiot, totally depressed, deflated, whatever. And for that year in 1999, I drowned my sorrows in a bar, which was close to my house. From the minute they opened till all the way till they closed, I was there drinking my sorrows away. And I looked horrible, horrible.
Yeah,
but that was 1999. Here's two ideas I came up with even when I was plastered out of my mind, depressed, and I looked horrible. The first one is called tap caps. Now, one of the regulars in the bar, who's as bad or worse than me, okay? I mean, both of us have rings under our eyes. We look horrible. But his family had this lathe company where, metal pipes that are threaded on both ends, kind of greasy pipes, whatever. I don't know what the hell.
Yeah.
But let's just pretend they use them for conduit for the electric wires or whatever. And pretty successful. Well, he gave me a tour of the place one day. And I remember that every pipe that was threaded had two blue caps, plastic caps on each end. And that's to prevent the threads from, ruining if you're removing them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
As a true alcoholic, I immediately start thinking about the bar that I was hanging out at every day. There, and like most bars everywhere, the beer taps, usually you'll see in a lot of places that they have like Reynolds wrap or Saran wrap or whatever. And at night, they'll cover the openings in the taps.
Yes.
And that's to prevent fruit flies, because if you get a couple fruit flies in there and you have beer, you'll be overrun with them. So you see these like ugly looking things at night, they're covered and it just looks stupid. I immediately thought, why don't we take this plastic thing, which looks like it costs nothing, right? And we market it as tap caps, where you could put them on your beer taps at night and it covers the end. And I tested it, of course. I was friends with the bar guys by now. And
I'm sure.
And I try it in each of the taps and it worked. Even Guinness, which has that weird tap. So I'm like, this could be golden. And actually, I could sell them in packs of 100 or whatever. And if they lose them, even better, because, they'll keep buying them. So where people were like, we could sell them to, different pubs, we could just go, around every bar and just ask them for stuff. I said, no, let's do one better. Let's go to the place that makes the beer, that distributes the beer and brings it to the bars. Let them do all the work.
Yes.
Because of my recent fame in People magazine, nobody knew I looked like shit. Sorry. I just decided to call Anheuser-Busch, which the headquarters was located in Milwaukee. And I got an appointment. So me and this other barfly drive to Milwaukee. and we meet with the heads of Anheuser-Busch. And I said, this would be something great that you can give to the people that order your product. You can give it to them free. And it's kind of like, it's not costing you a lot of money. And you can, obviously they'll appreciate it. And they're like, well, they liked the idea, but they looked at me and they looked at my friend, and it looked like we haven't slept. We probably didn't for like 3 days.
Yeah.
And of course the meeting was over. However, a few years later, these caps started appearing everywhere around the country. They didn't call them tap caps. I don't know what they called them. But again, even in one of my lowest points, I'm starting to think, well, wow, okay. Whether you steal it from me or you borrow it or you lease it from me, you got to understand, I'm the kind of person that it's kind of a compliment to see somebody copying your idea,
Yes, yes.
And just like my product Bug Band, 2 years after I launched it, and I filed bankruptcy 2 years after, 2 to 3 years after I launched it, there were other rival products that were coming out.
Yeah.
Bug Buster, Bug Chaser, Bug Off, all similar, because I didn't have a patent on it. It's very hard to get a patent on that kind of a product. You can't. So, to me, it was reinforcement that, what, the kids still got it. You know what I mean? So that same year, 1999, again, still a barfly, we were approaching the year 2000, big celebration because of the millennium.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And where I saw in the bar that I was in, they would have these napkins that said 2000 on them and stuff like that. I'm like, people aren't going to bring home a napkin when they go to these big events and they have these New Year's Eve parties. They need something that they could take with them as a souvenir.
Yes.
Right? So my mind went to a champagne glass, the stem in particular.
Yes.
And instead of a plain old stem, I'm like, there should be a 2000 on the stem. And so I find this place, I think it was Taiwan or, some overseas place. And I gave them the concept and they're like, yeah, we could do that. We could send you some prototypes. So they send me these prototypes. I'm drunk morning, noon, and night, by the way. Okay. I find these people that do commercials and they have a fulfillment house with the commercials, just like the Ginsu knives that I was talking about, today, the tack pen, same thing. And I created a commercial for these Millennium glasses. And the commercial went well, it went wild. It aired a couple of times because I couldn't afford to air it more, but I got some orders. And it was starting to be overwhelming, and because of my current condition, I just lost interest. And I stopped. Subsequently, you see these glasses all over the place. You also see now the glasses that have the 2 and the 0 or whatever.
Yes.
You see that stuff, but it first came out with the Millennium. And ladies and gentlemen, that was mine, those champagne glasses. So again, even in my lowest point, I'm still thinking like an entrepreneur. I'm not executing and firing on all cylinders, but boy, if there's any incentive deep down inside every one of us to say, you know what, you're on the right track, you still got it, even though your mind is just mush, you're coming up with ideas, right? All right, so let's flash now to 2001. 2001, I got together with a couple partners, and they had this patent on no smoking. It was an injection, actually, made up of 3 medications that you did small injections, like an insulin pen, behind the ear, okay? And the studies showed that like 85% of the people stop the urge for smoking for at least a year. Now, obviously, after that, it drops without care and counseling and whatever. But it was revolutionary at the time. So I did write my own press releases and I did get coverage, and it was becoming a very successful endeavor. Okay. It was so successful that my partners were like, they were just like stunned. For me, it was validation that the kid's back, you know,
Yes,
came
yes.
out of my bar slumber. I woke up, I started smelling the roses again. My mind was percolating. I slowed down my drinking. And so they were also involved in restaurants, and they happened to open up this restaurant a block from the office called the Crab Street Saloon. Was the food good? No. And I told them so. I said, place is not going to make any money if the food's not good. But they lied and they said, well, you know what? We made you have shares in the restaurant too. And I'm like, oh, wow. I knew it was kind of, I don't know, a lie, but I didn't care. It was the challenge. And so what they were doing is they were just like breaking their heads, trying to figure out how to get people in that place.
Yeah, yeah.
And at the time, they were using this lady, Pat Brickhouse. She is the widow of Jack Brickhouse, which was a former Chicago Cub announcer for many, many.
Okay.
So she, had a little bit of elitist to her. Nice lady. I'm not knocking her, but it was just like the partners introduced me to her, and they're like, this is Dino, and he's done some incredible things, and he's going to help with the restaurant. And she's just like, oh, have you ever done any publicity for restaurants? I'm like, no. She's like, and your resume is, well, I invented this. She goes, but nothing in restaurants. Okay, well, this is not an easy thing. I've been working on this for a very long, obviously, let me tell you my background. I'm just like, whatever. So at the time, I was doing some television commercials for the smoking clinic. And I started dating the girl who I was buying the TV ads from. She knew a few people. One of them was Dennis McKinnon, who was the Chicago Bears player, Super Bowl champ in 1985. And because the Bears, 1985 was it. They didn't have a Super Bowl after that. All the media was fixated on the former Super Bowl champ, players. And they would get TV spots. They would be sports announcers and all that stuff. I got to be good friends with Dennis. And I said, you know what? I want to do something that's just going to smash all records, especially put that Pat Brickhouse in her place and the competitive thing in me. And I'm like, would you be willing to be part of the restaurant? I'm going to do a promotion. I want you there. He's like, why do you want me there? I'm like, because you're the only thing Chicago fans can talk about, because you won that damn 1985 Super Bowl and nobody. He's like, yeah, I know. I go, can you bring some of your friends? And it'll be a great night. You can meet people. You could talk about, your favorite foundation. You could sign some footballs, jerseys, whatever. He's like, okay, I'm in. Free, by the way, free. He brings in his buddy Otis Wilson and also Richard Dent. Again, all three of them are 1985 Super Bowl champs. Anybody watching, you don't have to be a Bears fan, but look it up. Dennis McKinnon, Otis Wilson, Richard Dent, prominent players on the team. So they all agreed to be there. Now all I had to do was just sell it, right? So I write a press release, and it was titled "Da Tree Bears," DA Tree Bears, because that's kind of a joke in Chicago. And I did the press release. I sent it out to all major news stations. I sent it out to the radio. Only this time I didn't get a pre-response, And I'm just like, normally they'll come out, do some coverage, or they'll say, yeah, I got it, or something like that. This time it was dead. So I was terrified, because I'm just like, okay, it's the night of the event, and I'm driving there because I have to be there and see if my work has been done or not. And I'm like, anybody going to be there or not, or whatever? So I remember pulling up In the parking lot of the restaurant, it was packed. Then I remember trying to park on the street, no available parking. Then I go down 5 blocks to find parking. And as I start walking 5 blocks, I start seeing people. I start seeing people. And next to the restaurant was this company called Tickets Now, which sells concert tickets, sports tickets. And I figured, wow, there's got to be some event that they're selling tickets for.
Exactly.
Tickets Now was closed. They were waiting to get into the bar. They were waiting to get into the bar. And, you know, thank God there wasn't a fire marshal there, because the capacity was like 10 times more than what should have been in there. But I remember going in there and it was packed, wall to wall, packed with just people just eating and drinking and waiting and so forth. And I'm only 5'6", so I needed to be visible. So I grab a microphone and I get on the bar. I stand on the bar.
Oh, yes, yes.
Okay, you guys ready to see your Chicago Bears? They're like, ah.
Nice.
Brick House walked into the restaurant. She looked around. She held her ears because it was really loud. She turned around and she walked out. For me, that was just like, yeah, I still got it. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So,
yes.
Carina, these are just examples. Obviously, they feed my ego, okay? But they should. But the thing that it goes to show you is these are ordinary things that are in front of me at the present time. And, you know, without sitting there trying to hit a home run every single time, or, you know, these people that are like, God, I got to think of an idea, but what? It's always in front of your face.
Yes.
It's always just staring at you. It's just like you either capture it or you don't. You know, so instead of saying I invented something or it was my idea, I'd like to say that it's more finding a different application for an age-old, time-old thing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's why I said I didn't invent the light bulb. But at the time, if he invented the light bulb, I'd probably say, hey, does it come in colors? You see what I mean? It's just being at the right place at the right time. But the only way to be at the right place at the right time is you got to get yourself out there, and you have to network. You have to socialize. You have to interact, not be a hermit like I was for the last year and just kind of sit in, you know, by myself. I mean, that doesn't work. Those are just a few things that I thought about that I thought might be interesting to share with your viewers, because it's just really fun for me to experience that validation, and kind of cool to see that a lot of the things I thought of are still being used to this day, which is really neat.
That's very cool. And I also like it because a lot of people, when they're doing marketing or something, they say, you know what, this isn't going to work because I'm doing this and this isn't going to work here. So they close their minds, whereas you're showing here that anything can work anywhere. You must just look at it. And exactly, I love that t-shirt. No limits t-shirt for anyone who's listening.
No limits, hashtag no limits.
I love it. And that's exactly what it is. Because I think a lot of us we restrict ourselves, and we looking around. Of course, we are so afraid of what other people will say. That's a big thing. But we don't go out and say, you know what, this was done in this field. Let me see if I can try it in my business, even though it's a different business. So that's beautiful. It shows how you just have to have the idea and run with it. Don't be afraid. That's the big thing.
And the whole thing is a lot of people throughout my business career, you know, I think of an idea and they'd say, well, you gotta protect this, you gotta patent it, you gotta have people sign a non-disclosure. You can't just tell your ideas to everybody. And I was really cocky, and a lot of it's still with me today. But I was just like, you know what? You want that idea? Take it. By the time you walk out of my office, I'll have 100 different ideas. If you care so much about holding on to one idea like that, you know what? I feel sorry for you, because that's not how it works. How it works is you come up with an idea and then you bounce it off people. And you got to understand, like we were talking about in a different segment, out of 100 people that say this is a great thing and I want to do it, there's only going to be 2 or 3 that are actually going to try it.
Yes.
And of those 2 or 3, like me, when an idea wasn't patent pending, like my mosquito thing, when I knew eventually that somebody would copy it, my mentality wasn't, oh my God, I really can't do anything until I get a patent so I could protect myself. My idea was they're going to steal it. So first one gets it wins. So I made it famous. I was the first one to make it famous.
Yes.
And so even though people were coming out with substitute products, lookalike products, and a lot of them better than mine, to be real frank with you, I was there first. So people remember mine first.
Yes.
So at the time, I enjoyed 18 months of free publicity, not paid advertising, but people wanting to cover my story. And I mean, I remember having plaques. There were plaques that you couldn't put them all on one wall. Every time something came out, I had this place called In the News that would take the article that I told them I was in. They would laminate it and plaster it on a wooden thing. You see these in restaurants now.
Yes.
And I would have a basically a memorial to myself, but it was pretty. It was pretty. No, I know. It was pretty cool. But you know, you got to do those things. Like, look, an entrepreneur is a strange animal. They thrive on drive. You know, they thrive on adrenaline, and they thrive on challenges. You know, they're problem solvers, but they're also kind of like, for some unexplained reason, they're in tune with the market. And that's why I always made it a point to, you know, how people run through commercials while they're watching their favorite show or whatever. I never did. I liked the commercials because I would watch a commercial and I'm just like, all right, I don't think that this is going to catch on. And usually the ones that don't catch on, they don't keep doing repeat commercials. But the ones that I believed would catch on, then you start seeing more and more commercials. And then of course you see the famous, but wait, if you act now, you don't only get 1, you'll get 2 for the same price, you know, and that's just like, it keeps your pulse on the market. So I would call that market research. I still do today. I'm sorry, but that's how I am.
But it's funny that if you listen to a whole lot of top marketers in the internet space, they do the same kind of thing. So you hear people saying like, I geeked out. I'll just name, like you hear, I follow Russell Brunson, and he always says, you know what, I geeked out when I was small on, I loved the ads. Everyone was switched, but I'd love the ads. So it's quite interesting that you're saying that.
Okay, so this is showing my age. What does geek out mean?
Oh, well, he just sit and watch and just like immerse himself in the ads. He just watch ad and ad and ad and ad and ad.
Yeah.
It's like immerse yourself in it, right?
Yeah, because it's telling you what people are buying.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
And it's always, for the most part, ordinary things for ordinary people. It's never, you know, these elaborate things or very high-end things, which there is a market for. There's a small market, but the largest market is always going to be ordinary things for ordinary people.
Yes,
and if you stay grounded and you feel like you're still an ordinary guy, then you're going to still think like an ordinary guy, but you have that edge. You have the edge because you're thinking of a different application for the same thing. Like I said before, see voids, lulls in the market. You'll see what the market's missing. This may be the most wonderful product, but what if it had this?
Yes.
I look at this. I don't look at the pen and say, oh, I got to copy this pen. I look at the pen and say, well, wouldn't it be cool to have different inks in that pen?
Or some more paper, right? Or some pretty paper.
Exactly. So that's kind of how I think. And you know what? Millions of us think the same way. So in honor of Christmas and the holidays and the New Year, I'm going to talk about an idea that came to me when I was writing a book. I didn't execute that idea because I was so immersed in a book, which was new territory for me. I had to follow the advice of publicists, which was new to me. And it wasn't really something that I decided to heavily pursue. I mean, my ideas are coming to me, and all of a sudden this foundation, there's that void in the market that doesn't exist. It's the
Yes.
aftercare for rehabilitated people. I
Yes.
think that's going to keep me busy. So I'm going to give this idea out for free. No strings attached. If anybody takes it and runs with it, I'll be so happy and so proud. And if you give me a little honorable mention, that'll be cool. No, I'm just kidding. You don't even have to do that. You don't have to do that. So I'm a movie buff, have been all my life. Okay. And I love movies that invoke emotion. And they don't have to be the sappy ones that everybody complains about watching. Oh, you have to watch this movie and it's a tearjerker. It's just emotion. It could be drive, it could be thrill, it could be fear, it could be, any one of those things.
Yes.
But every time movies would evoke emotion for me, I would get goosebumps, and a lot of times my eyes would water up, and you're trying to be cool and you just nothing happened. But these are real emotions that I was fascinated by, how these movies can do that. And the way they did that is with music most of the time.
Yes.
Okay. There's certain music that means different, it invokes different feelings in you at different times in your life. It depends what state of mind you're in. Okay.
Yes.
You can watch the same movie over and over again throughout your life, and you're going to feel chills or emotion at different parts of the movie, which I think is just totally cool, which tells me music is timeless, good music with good scores and stuff like that. So if you see in the best movies, you'll always see a soundtrack to them.
Yes.
If you go to a play, in between intermissions, there's music playing, right? Because people are great. So now I'm writing a book, and the book was filled with raw emotion, raw energy. I had to get my story out. It was a healing thing for me, but not knowing until I started writing the book that I'm going through and reliving some tremendous moments in my life. A lot of them sparked with a lot of emotion. I mean, somebody files $10 million in bankruptcy, loses bug ban. That's emotional for me. Somebody who wasted a year of their lives drinking and drowning my sorrows out in a pub. That's emotional too. Divorce was emotional. My addiction was emotional. My father passing, so I mean, I'm reliving good stuff too, but I'm like all over the board. I'm like a roller coaster. So as I'm typing the words out and feeling them, songs started coming into my head. And they were songs, usually they were songs that I remember at the era, at the time that I'm writing about.
Yes.
And I couldn't stop these sounds in my head. I mean, it sounds a little psychotic, but
no, it's true. It happens.
And so I'm typing and I'm like tearing up, or I start bursting out in laughter or something like that. And it's just really weird. And then when I had a creative block, I would get in my car and I would just drive around and I would play songs. And then all of a sudden I'm listening to the song. I'm like, that's it. That's the title of the next chapter or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was onto something. So I told my PR people, my team, which, by the way, was the first time I let go of an idea. I usually execute it myself, but this time I figured, well, you know what? I don't know anything about this industry. Let somebody who does, dictate and take over.
Yeah.
And so I told them, I said, hey, I was looking around on the internet and talking to a few people, and there exists music that with a phone app, you could take your phone and you could scan it almost like on a QR code or whatever they call it, or let's just say a barcode, whatever.
Yeah, it's a QR.
And it will scan music and it will play music that's linked to that code. And I'm like, you know what? movies have soundtracks. Why can't books have soundtracks?
Mm.
Like, oh, well, I mean, this isn't like a Dr. Seuss book, or this isn't a children's story where you have that record and it plays as you're turning the pages. Plus, it's going to be too distracting. I said, but think about it as like an intermission to a play, right? Before you read, you read the preface, and then before you read chapter 1, you listen to either a snippet of the whole song that you choose, obviously the author, or the whole song.
Yes.
And then make sure it's not like a 12-minute song, okay? I'm just saying. But after you hear that song, I believe that it gets you in the mood to read that chapter. And then chapter 2, another scan, you hear the song or the snippet of the song, and then it gets you in the mood for chapter 2. And I think that that would be a wild play of emotions, because people daydream and imagine more. They use their imagination more as a reader than somebody watching a movie that's been made from a book. They're always like, oh, the book is better, because your imagination's running wild.
Yeah,
But one
yeah,
of the things
exactly.
that I think kind of brings it all together is the feeling that you're going to get by hearing the song. The song that's chosen by the author, because the author wrote the chapter based on emotion. They had something to say, they had something to tell, and it's either will make you sad, or it'll make you happy, or it'll make you excited. It's author's choice, right? And why can't you have a soundtrack for a book? Well, they're just like, well, that's going to be too distracting. It's going to be too, well, and we have to do this. And how are we going to do that? And I said, and the other thing is, I noticed everybody's into this cyber coins like Bitcoin and stuff like that. And there's this new thing called NFTs. Don't ask me to explain what NFT means.
I know, I love it. Yes, okay.
And I just figured, because I'm also artistic, I figured that my book should have an NFT in it, like maybe 2 out of the whole printed edition for all eternity, 2 that are a surprise. You don't know which book they're in.
Yes.
And it would be something that I would draw and something that I would sign. And if I, became, one of these famous people, J.K. Rowling as an example, if she did an NFT, it would be off the charts because it would have value. And I think that would be fun too. Well, guess what? They nixed both ideas. And I just didn't want to argue with them, because at the time I was just like, I'm bored. It's been 7 months and I'm still writing a book. I've never written this much in my life. And I just want to get it over with. But had I had some experience with the book world, the publishing world and stuff like that, I would have taken my time and taken a closer look at this, because it's not being done. So I
love it, actually. And I think you could do it now, or still. You can still do it now.
I know I could do it now, but you know what? My book launched me out and reintroduced me to the world. What I do from here is the truest sense of an entrepreneur, where it's just, I don't want to be a book writer anymore. There's nothing wrong with it, but I want to move on and life after the book. How do I help people? How do I motivate people? How do I fill voids that I see that are critical to something that I just went through, which is recovery, that I know for a fact doesn't exist. And here I am, a guy reinventing himself again and saying, I'm going to create a foundation that fills what's missing in the recovery world.
I know, that is really beautiful. That's going to be a very exciting project.
I have no doubt in my mind. And so, the purest form of entrepreneur that I know of is understanding that even though you have a million ideas, you're not going to execute them all in a lifetime. And that's why you hear a lot of these people, especially artists, well, so-and-so passed, and we found that there's still thousands of unreleased songs that are in their vault. They never stop. They never stop.
Yes, exactly.
Entrepreneurs. But to sit there and say, well, I'm going to do them all, you can't. So sometimes it's okay to give one away. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm giving one away. I'm saying anybody, especially somebody who's writing like an autobiography or something like that. It's not going to fit all book formats, but certainly the raw energy of somebody's life, the roller coasters, the ups and the downs, it's certainly appropriate. And I would be so happy when I see finally somebody that takes this and makes it a reality. And it can happen. I mean, this technology exists now. You could do it now. I could have done it.
Yes, of course you could.
You could do it. You're almost done with the book. You could do it.
Yes, I'm editing now. So hopefully I'll be finished within the next few days.
That's awesome.
And then, yes.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
It's a good idea. I've been thinking about NFTs for the book as well. That's why, because I just love this whole new technology. It's so exciting. And so there's just so much opportunity. So it's quite interesting.
And it's quite, appropriately, related to art. It's digital art. So in art, they say, well, how much is this worth? It's whatever the person who appreciates it is willing to pay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, you could see what it should go for based on other things, comparables in the marketplace. But at the end of the day, the way I used to buy art, I used to look at it in a gallery and then I'd walk away. I'd sleep on it. And if it was still in my head the next morning, I would go buy it. If it wasn't in my head, I wouldn't go buy it. So yes. I appreciate all forms of art, and the digital form is just the new age. It's just the new age. So is it going to go up and down like a stock market? Yeah, but so does art. Picasso's were up, Picasso's are down. It depends. But more so than just that is just the newness of it. You put an NFT, not in every book, in just a few books. So it's almost like you don't know if you're going to get it or not, but you got to buy the book.
Yes.
And if you do get it, it's something really, really cool. And if your book takes off, it's even better. Everybody wants their book signed. What about an NFT that has also a signature on there? That's pretty damn cool. So go out there, guys, go ahead, take the idea and run with it. Somebody do it, please.
But it will be interesting to see if people come back and see how they've implemented this and what the results are. So it's brilliant. I love it. So I might just run with it as well. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know. We'll see.
Again, I mean, isn't this the best? You think of an idea and you give it away.
Yes, but that's what it is. Like, you can't, it's the flow. The universe wants flow all the time. You can't hold on to things, because if you hold on to things, there's no space for new stuff.
Right.
So even like you cut off toxic people in your life because they're bad or whatever, you have to, it's difficult, but then beautiful new people come into your life, for example. Or a lot of people hold on to their money and then no new money can come into your life. You must share it and let it flow. So it's beautiful. Like Same I said, with ideas.
What you have to do, even if you're down, and again, it's perfectly normal, and I'm learning this even more now, to stop for a second and lick your wounds. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. Yes. But eventually you got to jump back in. And jumping back in isn't to, selfishly. Jumping back in is you're not going to be as creative. The most creative mind is going to be the one that interacts with all kinds of people, all kinds of situations, whether you like them, the situation, or not. You gain this experience that's kind of like, it's hard to explain, but I call it priceless, because it puts you in different situations, different markets, and all of a sudden one day you're just going to be like, it just won't come to you. I mean, don't think you're just going to sit down with a pad and paper and say, okay, let's get 10 ideas and let's see if one of these are going to work. You'll be there forever trying to figure out those 10 ideas. Yes. But you'll think of 10 ideas very quickly when you start interacting with people, all from different backgrounds, all from different markets, and just listening to them praise or complain about a specific thing
Yes.
or situation, all of a sudden, immediately, your mind is there. You're just thinking of the void. Hey, this is what's missing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a wonderful thing. It's great to dream. I daydream now just as much as I did when I was 7. And you forget about a lot of these things.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just really excited this week to share this, because I'm like, what are we going to do right before the holidays? You know what I mean? Am I going to talk about my move? Am I going to talk about, there'll be plenty of time for that. But what I wanted to do is I kind of wanted to re-energize, especially the entrepreneurs out there that are watching, that a lot of times we all have the tendency to think like, oh, I'm going to do this until I'm 60 and then I'm going to retire. Don't do that. Entrepreneurs just can't retire. You could slow down your life and appreciate everything around you. Yes, I encourage that. But when you turn off your mind, we're not regular people, okay? So sharks need to keep moving to continue to breathe, or they die. And just if you consider yourself kind of like a shark, you'll understand that in order to breathe, you have to keep moving. And so that could come in the form of mentoring or giving out an idea, just like I did, because nothing will make me happier than to see it come in one form or another in the future, and just be proud of the fact that, I was part of that.
Yes.
And that gives me fuel as well. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all you people out there. And remember, I enjoy doing this. I'm honored. I'm proud to be on your show every week. You've stuck with me since day one, and I appreciate that. And I think that there is value in a lot of the things that we talk about, but also that you talk about with other guests. So if you like what you're seeing, share it. Make sure they subscribe. And then they could share and subscribe with others, and so on and so on. And the exponential thing, we could get to 1,000 subscribers in no time, right?
Yes, thank you. And also remember Dino's book, all the details are at the bottom. There's no box for Dino. And have beautiful holidays. Just have fun and just enjoy the time, whether you're with family or not, or with friends. Just love the people you're with right now, right? Mm-hmm. And thank you so much, Dino. As usual, this was awesome. I just love this time together that we have. And we'll see you next week.
Okay. See you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. And thank you for listening right to the end. Now, if you want to know more about breaking fear and if it's keeping you stuck, check out the quiz. The details are below. Subscribe so you can hear some more of this delicious conversations, and then watch out for my book, The Clank of Chains, which is coming out very soon. Thank you again for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye.